Hello and welcome. My name is Campbell and this is Autodidactic channel. And today I wanted to talk about the fires in Australia. Now, I'm an Australian, been here all my life. I'm on the west coast in Perth. We have had some fires, but the really big bad fires are on the other side of the country, on the east coast. And there's a lot of questions about these fires. Australia does have fires. We're an arid country. A lot of our plants actually need fire to germinate. And it is something that happens on a regular basis, but nothing like what we've seen this year. And even in the last sort of 5 years, they've just been getting worse. And there are reasons for this. So just a bit about the fires. It just says here, large sheets of flame spread across various areas of the Australian countryside as what some call a devastatingly early season of wildfires continued to burn the land. As of last week, more than 1 million hectares of land have been blackened in the country, with the state of New South Wales experiencing the most severe fires. In this state, as of last week, there have been 6 reported deaths and 720 homes lost. The fires raging across huge distances. At one point, firefighters were battling a fire front around 6,000 kilometres long. Now, it then goes into the perspective of the animals, because, of course, there's so much wildlife is just being devastated as well. All the mammals, all the birds, and apart from that, all the insects, all the microbes in the soil and in the trees and things like this, they're all being wiped out as well, because this fire is different. This is a very, very hot fire that's really, really burning things. Normally the fires just kind of skip through and they just burn, because there's so much fuel in the Australian bush at the moment, because the government have not allowed the residents to clean it out, is why that's the reason. And so with this much fuel and other factors, the fires are so much more intense and they are really doing some damage. It says here, in a country with a largely arid climate, wildfires are common and a natural occurrence. Fires would probably occur without human input, and the ecosystem benefits from the fire itself. For example, there are many plant species adapted to fire, and even some whose germination process is precipitated by fire. The ash of burning organic matter makes a richer soil, more fertile soil in the wildfire's wake. And that's what happens when we normally get a fire, or years ago when they were normal, a fire would go through, everything would look black, and literally within a few weeks it would all be green, everything would be shooting again. And that's how it worked. Now there are two factors. It says here that there are two factors which are in some way connected to the extent of the fires, which seem to be fundamentally linked. Part of the reason why so much wet forest has been burning seems to be below average rainfall this year, says the Bureau of Meteorology. Another factor to be considered is deforestation in New South Wales. Around 20,200 hectares of forest were reported as being cleared for crops, pastures or thinning in the year 2016 to 2017. This was an increase of around 7,000 hectares, which is interesting because obviously there's less trees to burn, but the thing is, trees give off pheromones which actually attract rainfall. What does it say here? Less trees. There is not a problem isolated to Australia. As I report on this website earlier in the year, the annual wildfire destruction in parts of Southeast Asia and the resultant smoke-filled air known as seasonal haze is in part exacerbated by the excessive land clearing in those countries, which means that the ecosystem is already unable and liable to erosion and drought even before the fires begin. And that goes down, because that's obviously talking about, because there's factors leading up to it that makes the fires so much more detrimental. And then we get into river rights and holding water from people and things. But I won't go into that now because we've got some videos to have a look at. And let's see what people on the ground, the firemen, are saying in Australia.
What do you think about the Prime Minister's visit today?
Look, it's good, but we need some action out of it. Like, we're running around in private vehicles with using our private diesel, chainsaws, fuel to put these fires out because there's not enough units on the ground.
I have heard this about crews on the ground who've said they've had to buy their own chainsaws and hose nozzles. What is that? Is that what you guys are doing?
Well, you already have all this own gear, but you turn up and we've only got 2 trucks here. There's 2 trucks over the hill at running stream, and it's just not sufficient. Like, this fire's just got too big, so everyone's getting in their private vehicles to try and get it out.
What else would you like to see from the Prime Minister out here?
Well, I asked him if the Army was getting involved, and he said they've been involved for 2 months. We haven't seen anything out here. Like, we need dozers, units, and more men.
And what do you think about his climate policies and climate change? Do you think that needs to change? Do you think it's
not really. I think it's the carbon credits. Like, there's a scrub out there that's went up that apparently Energy Australia own, just for carbon credits. So there's no back burning, burning off through winter that happens. So the fuel load on the ground is just ridiculous. And of course, if the carbon credits are still there, the burning off isn't going to happen.
That was my. So, do you want to see more hazard reduction in this?
Yeah, of course. Yep.
Do you think they're having a meeting in March with the state governments to try and get something done? Do you think that's going to be too late?
Yeah, certainly. Like, the fire was coming up over the hill there yesterday. I live about 5 kilometres that way. If the wind, the wind was going too far east, it was going more northeast, we would have been burnt out yesterday. Like, already in a crippling drought, spending about $1,500 a week on stock fodder. So you feed the sheep in the morning and then come fight fires in the afternoon. And this guy's just got nothing but words. So until we see some actions, he's not too happy with him.
What was it like seeing the Prime Minister here today? What do you think of that?
It'd be all right if he does something, if he listens, but that's another story. I told him to handle it, don't hand it down the line, because what's happening is crap. It's bad. People come in to help us and they won't even grab a hose. They just sit in a truck. It's pretty sad.
What do you mean? What do you mean when you say people are coming in to help you and they're not doing anything?
Other ruralists, but they're shit scared. You just got to get in and get it out as quick as you can, so it doesn't blow into this what we got. But they get told from the blokes in Mudgee that aren't on the ground, and that's when the shit hits them.
And what kind of conditions, what do you want to see the Prime Minister do?
I'll just give all the powers back to the local captains. He's got to do it. Otherwise we're screwed. Yeah, I'm not putting this shirt back on no more. No. All the locals, we're just going to have our own shit and do our own stuff. Get in, put the fires out, go home for Christmas. But we're not going to be this year because it's a mega. We've got fires all around us coming everywhere. We just got to get in there and put them out, but they won't let us.
Can you talk me through that a little bit more? Why won't they let you get in there?
Because the commanders are sitting in Mudgee in front of a computer and not actually out here. So their grid references on the grid reference, like the fire's only not far away, but it's got to come down a hill and back up another hill, which takes a fair while. So I've been on those and they've put me out twice, and I'm going, what for? Like, there's no fire within Cooey, and as soon as we pull out, the fire jumps.
And how are you and the rest of the people on your team feeling?
I can't say, because I'd swear. So, we're bucketed, but you've got to keep going.
Northern New South Wales and Senior Deputy Captain. Been a member for 18 years.
So why have you decided to come along this morning?
I guess just to wake people up. I mean, I've been an activist now for 10 years and been in the Rural Fire Service for 18 years, so this is like a full circle happening for me now. And we're just seeing in the Rural Fire Service, we're seeing things we haven't seen before, time and time again since 2000. So that's fire behaviour, doing things that it's not supposed to be doing. And now this year we're seeing a fire that no one thought was possible. We've always seen big fires, but not so many. We haven't seen 2.7 million hectares burnt with 700 750 odd houses burnt. And it's just basically hard work that have only 6 people have died compared to other major fires that's happened beforehand. You're killing us. Stop, you're killing us. Through your inaction, through your corrupt behaviour, through your taking money from under the table, you're killing us. You're killing Australia on so many levels. I grew up in Brisbane, and I remember my family, my dad was the only one that had to go to work, and we lived okay, and we could afford to buy a house. I'm 50 now, and both parents have to go to work, and we'll never afford a house. So we're all suffering over the whole board, but through the inaction, through just the blatant lies, you're killing Australia. You're killing the wildlife, you're killing communities. We can't cope with what's about to happen. And yes, the fires now in New South Wales are unprecedented, but the worst is yet to come. So we need to act now, otherwise we will not survive. We will, as a species, become extinct with so many other species. We need to rethink everything that we're doing. I mean, in New South Wales, what isn't being burnt in state forests, they're logging. Without nature, we can't survive. Without clean air, you can't survive. And people in Sydney now are starting to realise without clean air, your life it's hard to live. So yeah, my message to the government is just get out. And sacking Morrison isn't going to solve a thing. Scott Morrison isn't the problem. It's the system. And it's a system that's been put in place since that little grub John Howard got in and started privatising everything. So the government now isn't working for us, the people. It's now working for big business, big corporations. And they don't care about us. They care about profit, and that's it. I mean, when you get electricity prices going up and up since they've been privatised. And I think the people in general need to wake up and stop believing these lies.
You're wearing your fire gear today. Can you tell us how hard the last sort of few weeks or months have been? How hard have you been working to put out the fires?
Yeah, a lot. I mean, we've been overworked and overstretched since August. And we're seeing fire behaviour we're not used to seeing. I mean, usually we've got a plan. We're putting the back burn here, do that, do this. Now it's more reactionary. So it's first priority is saving lives, getting people out and educating people, and then saving houses. And yeah, it's just horrific. And it's ongoing. We've only just got into summer, and we've got to survive now until, March, April. And we'll only have a few months rest before the fire season starts again. And it's heartbreaking, and it's surreal.
So people are pretty annoyed at the Australian government. And as you can see here, this is one that was destroyed called Cobargo. You left us to burn. Furious Cobargo residents explode at visiting Scott Morrison after their town was destroyed by bushfires, forcing the PM to flee the scene in his chauffeur-driven car. Residents of a town devastated by bushfires have abused visiting Prime Minister Scott Morrison. The Australian PM visited on Thursday and was met with angry locals who accused him of not doing enough. Locals were shouting at him, calling him names and refusing to shake his hand until he promised to do more, which he did not. So here we go. You can see here he's grabbing this lady's hand. She doesn't want to shake his hand. Okay, we'll hit this. She doesn't want to shake his hand and he just grabs it.
I'm only shaking your hand if you give more funding to our RFS. So many people here have
This
lost
is all
their...
publicity. Here is his handler. You be nice to the Prime Minister. I'm a complete brainwashed idiot. And look, he's got nothing to say. He's not there with any help. He's just walking around with cameras following him.
We had 4 trucks to defend our town because our town doesn't have a lot of money, but we have hearts of gold, Mr. Prime Minister.
Nah, you're an idiot, mate. You really are. You won't be getting any votes down here, buddy.
No one's interested in his crap. People want action. Walters in with nothing.
You're out, son. You are out.
But his handlers and his taxpayer funded BMW, which is right there. Alright, just that car. He could sell that car and that would do a lot for this town.
We get nothing. If we were Sydney, if we were North Coast, we would be flooded with donations, with urgent...
The Australian government is not for the people.
Come back. You're not fucking welcome. Hey!
And that's what the Australian people think of Scott Morrison. And as you can see, he's just done a runner. He's done nothing. He's brought nothing. He's helped no one. No plans, no anything. Just wants to rock in and, you know, important. Now, why are people so annoyed? Firefighting aircraft in mothball country burns. Bushfire experts have questioned why Australian governments have not used powerful firefighting aircraft sitting dormant overseas to battle the blazes ravaging New South Wales and other states. Fire and Rescue New South Wales Commissioner Greg Mullen said dozens of aircraft were mothballed in the Northern Hemisphere winter that could be available next week. These fires have now been burning since November, 6-7 weeks. He said an aircraft worth testing would be the Bombardier, capable of dropping 6,000 litres, scooping from lakes, rivers and the ocean, but Australia hasn't touched them yet. So these are sitting in a country in America. You know, we've lost over 100 homes in the Blue Mountains. If we had a bigger aerial support, how many of the homes could we have spared? Down here it says the federal government provided $11 million to bolster aerial firefighting capabilities earlier this month. But Mr. Mullins said it was smoke and mirrors and too little too late. Now there's planes sitting for free. What are they doing spending $11 million? If that $11 million should be on transporting these planes to Australia, because people will give them to us and loan them to us for free. It says here they should be looking at these scooping aircraft because Croatia, Italy, France, Portugal and Canada have all got them, and they are all in mothballs in winter. There are dozens of them, and they are cheaper than jets. Okay, this $11 million could have been spent on something that would actually work. Okay, and Australia doesn't have a big enough fleet. We've got pretty much, you know, probably the worst bushfires of any country in the world, and we don't have a proper fleet of water bombers. So what was that? You know, come on. Ex-Fire Chief Greg Mullen urges Scott Morrison to turn. It says, get on the phone to his counterparts in France, Portugal, Spain and Canada and ask for their water bombers. He's now being told, the fire chief has to tell him this stuff because he's so brain dead. Well, either that or, you know, this is conspired and he's just an evil person. This is treason. He is killing the people of the country he's supposed to be leading and helping. Mr. Shorten, Bill Shorten, one of our PM, he's the opposition leader, says Australia's firefighters and emergency services did an excellent job but need more support from the government. At the moment, Australia doesn't have a government-owned fleet of waterbombing aircraft, making us reliant on borrowing private companies domestically and from overseas. Come on, what's going on here? So there's all these planes, everyone's saying to the, you know, get these water bombers here, and nothing's being done.
Obviously pricing is a key to the sustainable use of any resource, but we must pay that price. There's no doubt that water is used unsustainably in many parts of Australia, but we oughtn't to imagine that we're short of water because we're not. What we're short of is the courage to get the water from where it is to where it's needed. There have been some suggestions that that's all too difficult. Put simply, our water crisis is man-made through poor management, self-interested politics, ignorance and indifference.
For Australian farmers battling one of the worst droughts of all time, water is more precious than gold. So how would they, and the rest of us who depend on them for food, react knowing government authorities, whose job it is to manage our water, are wasting millions and millions of litres of it, deliberately? On the Upper Murray River, water that could save farmers is spilling over the banks. Enough to fill 2 Sydney harbours was lost last year alone. It's a national scandal unfolding in secret. But while farmers are being sold down the river by the bureaucrats, not everyone's losing. Corporate speculators trading in water are swimming in profits. In August last year, the gates opened on dams along the Upper Murray River. They wouldn't close for 141 days. It let loose a man-made flood.
16,000 megs a day spilling through the Yarrawonga Weir in this, one of the greatest droughts we've ever seen.
It's scarcely believable, but while much of Australia was gripped by one of our worst droughts in history, the people who manage our most precious resource were wasting it in truly epic proportions. Millions of litres of water flooding a protected national forest, while a dairy industry dies in the heat.
We're in a man-made drought. Our water is flowing past us every single day and we can't touch it.
All caused by speculators and bureaucrats cutting deals to sell water to the highest bidder. And damn the consequences.
Water flows to money. To ordinary Australians, it's a tragedy. It's horrifying.
Matt Keane has been out there saying bushfires and climate change are inextricably linked, and I think that's about taking away any opprobrium he quite rightly should have as Environment Minister, and indeed the government, for not doing enough on hazard reduction burns, notwithstanding lightning strikes and notwithstanding arsonists. But the Prime Minister today also linked climate change and bushfires. Are they on the money?
Oh, look, we're just sick of this crap. Look, the first question, I'd make 2 points. One, you can't have a fire without fuel. You try going into your house instead of starting an open fire and you've got no fuel, you can forget it. Now, the fuel is there because 11% of the nation are national parks. They've been closed up, the fire trails are not there, and no one allows back burning, and the fuel is there in these conditions with lightning strikes, electricity poles falling down and all the rest of it, and arsonists. 50% of them are established by arsonists. But let's forget that argument and go to climate change. Now, if it is climate change, let's then, Matt Keane and Scott Morrison, define what you're talking about. And if it appears you're talking about carbon dioxide, then can I just say to a little child who's 8 years of age, in grade 3 at school, now you just tell me how damaging this is. Because carbon dioxide is 0.04% of the atmosphere, of everything around the world, 0.04% in the world. And human beings, you and I, and all that manufacturing that's going on, and all the animals that are out there, they create 3% of 0.04%. And then our little Australia, tiny little Australia down here, is responsible for 1.3% of 3% of 0.04%. And we're standing the economy on its head over all of this, where we'll have no impact on climate whatsoever. But worse than that, we are banging kids' heads against the wall with this intellectual dishonesty. The Prime Minister should be out there saying, and I heard your comments about Time magazine, well, I'd say just don't buy Time magazine and rip it up. They're a joke. But the Prime Minister should be saying, yeah, children are being taught, the propaganda at schools is the world's going to end, our generation has destroyed the world. This Thunberg is saying you're doing nothing about climate change and everything. God, these irresponsible adults are bequeathing to us a world which is giving no opportunity to us. We should be saying, listen, you're going to enter a world which has got unlimited opportunity. It's not going to be the end of the world. Everything's okay. This rubbish about carbon dioxide is rubbish. The rest of the world are going to build coal-fired power stations. We're going to send our nation broke because we're pursuing an ideology which is nothing more than an intellectual hoax. And the Prime Minister's got to show some leadership on this. Mind you, I did think he equivocated a bit, but they seem to be frightened to take on the argument. I mean, that's the case. Read Professor Plimer.
Okay, so another question that is being asked is, how did all these fires start at the same time? Because this is hundreds and hundreds of fires all being started pretty much at the same time in the same area. So here it says, how do 50 or more bushfires start almost simultaneously across New South Wales or Queensland? There have been no reports of lightning storms to speak of, and just a handful of charged with allegedly starting fires near Brisbane. Power lines have not been blamed, so how do so many fires start in such a short time? Now, if you've been covering, what's going on in the world, you may have seen the California fires. I think it was last year, was it, or the year before? That was pretty devastating, and there was a lot of interesting stuff came out of those fires. So let's just have a look at this video.
Oh, fuck! Yeah, there's hella fucking cars over there, dude.
See that blue bang?
Hey folks, welcome to another video from plaintruth.info. Here's more proof positive. Blue laser lights, which people are reporting. We've got now at least 3 separate cell phone smart cameras identifying blue lasers on video, 1 from a helicopter and 2 from handheld cameras, as you can see right here. This is proof positive. We're going to take this to the fire departments. We're meeting with fire people now. They know something was wrong, and they've seen the videos and all the directed energy comments, and they want to learn more. So we're taking this to them. You can take this video as well. We also have the Santa Rosa Planning Department papers back from 2016. The exact roadmap where the fires hit in the Santa Rosa area matched the planning rezoning for Agenda 21. Stack 'em and pack 'em, green design, walking, no fireplaces kind of communities with density increases over 100%, planned on October 7th, 2 days before the fires. We have city council members and now the Sonoma Media Design Group, or Sonoma Media Group and the Sonoma Design Group. The Sonoma Design Group is the laser weapon companies, organizations, and the Sonoma Media investments we'll get into that own the newspapers around here with Democratic lobbyist connections and all sorts of nefarious types involved. So we'll get into that in the next video, but I want to get this laser out, folks. This is what's the smoking gun, the smoking laser. Here it is right here. So proof positive. Let's spread the word, get it around, and let's stop this madness by education. First, it always starts with education. So please share.
There you go, guys. Lasers. You saw that. You saw them being shot from planes. We know that they have technology we don't know about. And the California fires, there was more than 3 reported in the end. There was more than 3 videos. And California, they had like brick buildings that were burning and metal cars that were on fire. Just not natural kind of stuff.
It's April to get a meeting with the Prime Minister. It's clear now we won't get that meeting. Minister Littleproud has reached out. I'll be meeting him in a few weeks. It is very, very disappointing that we weren't listened to earlier, because we actually predicted exactly what's happening now, and measures could have been taken months ago to make the firefighters more effective and to make communities.
Let's check on today's weather now. And Tony, something strange going on in the skies of southern Queensland in the past day.
Good afternoon, Katrina. Yes, we've started seeing some mysterious echoes appearing on the radar. Now, they started late yesterday afternoon over the Darling Downs, with trails of blue sweeping across the southeast during the evening and overnight before it all dissipated early this morning. So, what is it? Well, it's not weather-related. Skies were clear last night and there was no rain recorded anywhere. Now, one theory is that it's a thing called chaff, small metal or plastic fibres released into the air to help shield military aircraft from radar detection during exercises. No one has confirmed that, but these streams here are consistent with something being released in the upper atmosphere over the Downs, then being swept across the southeast by strong winds. Interesting nonetheless.
geoengineering real? ABC Channel 7 Chief Meteorologist Mike Kruger recently made the following statements on the air, which were recorded by geoengineeringwatch.org.
And geoengineering is indeed a real study. It's a real thing that is being conducted in many different ways. Geoengineering, which is legitimate and real and not dangerous, at least chemical-wise.
While publicly admitting to the geoengineering reality, ABC Channel 7 Chief Meteorologist Mike Kruger claims to know that the chemicals being used are not dangerous. Geoengineeringwatch.org would like to ask this of you, Mr. Kruger. How exactly are you able to come to such a conclusion, given the fact that countless lab tests from all over the globe have proven highly toxic climate engineering elements like aluminum, barium, strontium, and polymer fibers are in fact raining down through the atmosphere, toxic elements which we are all inhaling with each and every breath we take?
And geoengineering is indeed a real study. It's a real thing that is being conducted in many different ways. Geoengineering, which is legitimate and real and not dangerous, at least chemical-wise, legitimate and real and not dangerous, at least chemical-wise.
Are we to believe ABC Channel 7 Chief Meteorologist Mike Kruger's assurance that geoengineering is, quote, not dangerous, even though all available data says otherwise? Of course not. All of us are needed in the battle to sound the alarm. We must all make every day count. Share credible data from a credible source. This is Dane Wigington with geoengineeringwatch.org.
This is some footage, actual live footage of firefighters in the fire. You can see there's bushfire here. And I want you to keep your eye on this side. As you can see, they can't see a lot of debris, smoke, you know. Now, did you see how bright that just got? You see that? And they've actually got to put up shielding on the windows. Look at that. I'm just going to rewind it a bit. If you can see, it's only that bright, and then see that flash, and then suddenly it just gets really intense. Look at that, the fire just takes off and they have to cover the windows to shield themselves from the heat, no doubt. What was that? Was that some kind of accelerant? Sprayed from the sky, maybe? I mean, that's just ridiculous. Look at that. But did you see before, it was all black in front of them? Right, and then it flashed. So if we go here, the front's all black. It's all dark. Then it flashes, and then, you know, a few seconds later, look, all in front of them's alight. Look at it. All around them suddenly is all burning. What's going on?
From radar detection during exercises. No one has confirmed that, but these streams here are consistent with something being released in the upper atmosphere over the downs, then being swept across the southeast by strong winds. Interesting nonetheless.
Is geoengineering real? ABC Channel 7 Chief Meteorologist Mike Kruger recently made the following statements on the air, which were recorded by geoengineeringwatch.org.
And geoengineering is indeed a real study. It's a real thing that is being conducted in many different ways. Geoengineering, which is legitimate and real and not dangerous, at least chemical-wise.
While publicly admitting to the geoengineering reality, ABC Channel 7 Chief Meteorologist Mike Kruger claims to know that the chemicals being used are not dangerous. Geoengineeringwatch.org would like to ask this of you, Mr. Kruger. How exactly are you able to come to such a conclusion, given the fact that countless lab tests from all over the globe have proven highly toxic climate engineering elements like aluminum, barium, strontium, and polymer fibers are in fact raining down through the atmosphere, toxic elements which we are all inhaling with each and every breath we take?
And geoengineering is indeed a real study. It's a real thing that is being conducted in many different ways. Geoengineering, which is legitimate and real and not dangerous, at least chemical-wise, legitimate and real and not dangerous, at least chemical-wise.
Are we to believe ABC Channel 7 Chief Meteorologist Mike Kruger's assurance that geoengineering is, quote, not dangerous, even though all available data says otherwise? Of course not. All of us are needed in the battle to sound the alarm. We must all make every day count. Share credible data from a credible source. This is Dane Wigington with Geoengineeringwatch.org.
Nothing! You're laughing! You're having a circus! You're playing with fire!